Greetings all! Welcome back to Royal Armouries, and we're going to have another look at another piece of tank military history. In this case we have the Besa 792 from the Royal Armoured Corps. And happily enough, being in the Royal Armouries, they have a few people here and there who happen to know a few things about the subject matter. So instead of my taking my best guess about small arms, or well, at least what I would consider small arms, I am joined by Christian. So, Christian, the Besa is another foreign invention, kind of. Talk me through the history.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're all familiar with the Bren, which was originally a Czechoslovak design, brought over to the UK and modified into the Bren form that we know it. This is another one from the same factory. So, you've got the Československá zbrojovka in Brno, which is the main government manufactory in Czechoslovakia. They've got this design that's originally an infantry machine gun, a medium machine gun to replace the old Schwarzlose 1909-1912s. And they come up with an air-cooled design, which is the ZB-53, or in Czech service, the VZ-37. And this is first brought to British attention around 1934. A pamphlet is sent over to the UK when a specification has been issued for a new tank machine gun. They want something that can be air-cooled as opposed to the old Vickers, which is water-cooled. And so this essentially gets sent over by a British officer who's visiting Czechoslovakia and says, how about this?
Can I borrow your gun, Czechs? I'll bring it back in a couple of years, don't worry.
So that's essentially where Britain gets the idea for it, and of course the Bren was a resounding success. They were absolutely enamoured with it.
Okay, so the Bren was already in service when they're looking at the Besa then?
Yeah, so 1933 the Bren is really starting to get into its finalised form. It's sort of around the time when it's really beginning to be introduced to service. Okay. And then this comes along as well. But yeah, originally it's in Czechoslovakia, their service, they have 3 versions. So one for infantry, one for tanks, and one for bunkers. Mm-hmm. And so we start to look at this as also something that we could potentially use in our tanks too. Turning the Vickers into an air-cooled design is just not working out. Yeah. And so, yeah, we start to investigate this instead. But this time round, unlike the Bren, where we had a collaboration between Royal Small Arms Factory Enfield and CZ in Czechoslovakia, this development in the UK was left up to BSA, the Birmingham Small Arms Company Limited, and that's also where this actually gets its name from. So Besa was a common colloquial name to a way of referring to BSA as a company, okay, and also some of the more popular BSA motorbikes that they were making at this time. So, you know, going out for a ride on my Besa, and so for whatever reason they decided to name this after the company that was making it.
All right, and so the other famous thing about this is it didn't use British ammunition. So everything from Spitfire machine guns to the Vickers, if it wasn't using something weird like the .50, it ran the 303.
Yep.
Brilliant for logistics.
Absolutely.
And the Royal Armoured Corps say, no, we will take the 792, which the Germans are using, and the Czechs or anybody else. Why?
It was all about time. So so the introduction is made around 1934, but it's not until about 1937 that the British Army and the Small Arms Committee are really able to actually get their teeth into this thing and start looking at it. But they do actually go ahead and order a couple of 303 caliber ZB-53 machine guns. We've got one in the collection here, and
small flex.
But yeah, they're working towards that in 1937. That's being done by the company over in Brno. But then by the end of 1937, when those are delivered, it's decided at the Small Arms Committee that whichever model is available and ready now, that is the one we're going to adopt. So already by the end of 1937, they're anticipating needing a lot of tank machine guns in very short space of time. But yeah, there were some kinks being worked out with the 303 version, but for the most part, you know, the 2 that were bought did pass their acceptance test. But in the end, yeah, we went for the 792.
Time isn't the only. This isn't the only instance where we need something good enough now, not what we really need later, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. It is interesting though as well that I've been looking through the archives on this, and they around 1941, 42, I think it was. They do actually start investigating about the possibility of converting both the Bren and the Besa to 3006. Because, of course, a lot of American tanks are starting to enter British service. They're all coming equipped with Brownings, all shooting 3006. And so they the Small Arms Committee, or the Ordnance Board at this point, do ask speculatively, could it be done? Yeah. And so the response comes back, the Bren, absolutely not. It's just, you'd need to redesign the entire thing. Yeah. But the Besa, nothing says that it couldn't be done.
So now you're going to tell me you got a 30-06 Besa around the corner?
Unfortunately not. For whatever reason, they decide that, well, they say, okay, fine, just never mention it again. So clearly, I think the focus there was going to be on the Bren. But yeah, so it ended up being 792 all through its service up until the 50s when it was brought out of service later on.
For the Brownings.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so now this one you said was a Mark III.
Yep.
All right, so what was the difference between the Mark I and the Czech design?
So one of the big changes was the pistol grip. So the Czech design has this sort of fold up, fold down sort of, I'm not sure what you can call it, but the grip where you hold like that.
A spade grip.
Spade, yes, thank you. Mine going blank. Yeah, it uses a spade grip. That's very much what the earlier Schwarzlosser was using, so it would be something that the Czechs were familiar with. Mm-hmm. But when the British Army are looking at this and saying, could we use it in our tanks, one of the first things they say is, can you stick a pistol grip on it? Yeah,
because it's shorter. I mean, you're shooting from underneath, not from behind. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also one of the interesting things about this as well is, of course, the pistol grip is actually also the cocking handle. So you've got a lever on the side, push that down, pistol grip goes forward, pull it back, and now you're cocked. But aside from that, we've got the addition of this, which is your rear baffle plate to protect against splash from enemy incoming fire. Because the way this will slot into a dovetail to fit into a mounting on a tank. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, it's mostly in little details as well. And also, you've got, as you go through the war, you start to move into the various marks of, say, for example, we've got the Mark III here that has a lot of simplification done to it. One of the big ones as well, for example, is the barrel here. The earlier models and the original Czech one has a lot of thick, heavy fins going along the barrel to aid with the air cooling and the heat transfer. Whereas on this later model, we just made it smooth, just get it out the door. So yeah, this is one of the designs where you really start to see those wartime economies kicking in.
And as a particularly heavy weapon, I mean, it's again, air-cooled, not water-cooled.
Yep.
Generally speaking, back then, the answer to high sustained fire was to make the barrel heavier. And is this so heavy that it doesn't need to be changed in the tank, or is it still you have to have okay, I'll fire 2,000 rounds, it's time to change the barrel?
At some point, yeah, you are going to have to probably change it, but the amount of firing that a tank machine gun might be doing at this time, possibly not. It is a very, very heavy, thick barrel. In fact, a step beyond this even is, when I said earlier about the bunker design that was used by the Czechoslovaks, mm-hmm. Theirs is an even heavier barrel. Oh, okay. Because in that situation, when you're in a bunker, you may not be able to change it out at all. Yeah. So this is sort of like the happy, like the
But if you were to change the barrel on this, is this something that you could do in the middle of combat, or is this the sort of thing that you wait till you at least have a chance to fall back, and then you got to dismount half the gun in order to do it?
It is a bit involved, yeah. You're going to have to take it out of the mount and properly dismount it before you do that, yeah. So you're not expected to do it hugely often. All
right. So let's have a look inside then and talk me through, well, basically how it works, what makes it special as a tank gun.
Okay. So
and I'm also going to get me another camera. Hang on. So for those of you who don't know, this is an Osmo made by DJI. But they do good quality stuff. This is, and I use this for some of the B-roll, the background shots. But now that it's up front and center, you know what it is. It's a pretty good little 4K stabilized camera. Okay, to battle, Christian.
Right, so top cover opens up. You've got a pin here. Lift that up, and you can see pretty much the entire gun here. So anyone who's familiar with how the Bren works, by and large, this is essentially a belt-fed Bren. Mm-hmm. So it's a gas-operated. Long stroke gas piston weapon, but on this one you've got the addition of a very short recoil system, and we've got a big buffer here up in the top cover where that abuts against this barrel extension down here, and so as the gun recoils it will rock back onto that, and that will push it back forwards again. We've got an arm inside here which acts to actuate the feed pull for the belt here, and so as the piston extension comes back, that will actuate that and drag the belt through. You've got here your belt ejection port, because we're not using disintegrating links. So the belt needs to go somewhere at the other end. But yeah, fundamentally, by and large, it is a Bren. So, but with the added change of having the cocking handle being the pistol grip. So if I put the grip forwards, and pull it back, you will see the bolt come rearwards there. And then if I pull it back and let it forward, you will see that bolt tilting up and down to lock and unlock, just like a Bren does. But interestingly, this is an open bolt design at a time when the British Army are used to a closed bolt design for their tanks. So, for example, the Vickers that they're coming from, that is a very closed bolt gun, and also the Brownings that they're starting to get as well, they're closed bolt too. And this could cause some issues sometimes. One of the problems that they were having with the Besa is they were looking at the issue of carbon monoxide poisoning regarding, especially in tight spaces inside tanks. And so to test that, they decided to test the effect by using the auxiliary turret of a Crusader tank. And so they put a soldier in and had him fire off one belt of 225 rounds, and then halfway through the second belt, he passed out. So,
Didn't work.
So it wasn't particularly great, and the solution they came up with was to have a small auxiliary fan to blow fresh air into the gunner's face. However, for the rest of the tank, so for example in the main turret where you've got 3 men, they found that the main fan working the engine was perfectly fine to create enough airflow to make it not a problem. It was only the gun layer that experienced any significant increase in carbon monoxide exposure, and that's because, of course, the gun in his case is right next to his face.
And these are canvas belts, how long?
So 225 round belts, you've got some that are a mix of canvas and metal, and so the actual bit that the cartridge goes into is metal, and then there's canvas little sections in between them, or you've got complete metal belts where the links are held together by pins.
Overall, I mean, what were the reports? I mean, as far as I can tell, everybody loved the Besa. It seemed to do exactly what it said in the tin, and nobody complained about it. But what have you heard on your end?
Yeah, I mean, it's another classic, you know, Czechoslovak design. They knew how to make guns in the interwar period, and that then expanded into our use of them during the Second World War. I mean, if it didn't work well, they wouldn't keep using it. Pretty much every British designed and made tank during the Second World War, once this is introduced, uses the Besa. It's not until, you know, beyond the 1950s that we start using the Browning as standard for our tank machine guns. And so, yeah, it was clearly suitable for service. There was an attempt to turn it back into a ground machine gun by the British military in 1944, despite it having originally already been an infantry, exactly, yeah, a ground-mounted tripod machine gun in Czech service. They decided, yeah, let's try and turn it back into that from this form, but yeah, that didn't really go anywhere. It's just sat on the shelf out there.
All right, well, that was it. A very simple overview. Thank you, Christian. And again, to the Royal Armouries. But the Besa machine gun, an absolute classic of a tank machine gun. This is about as diametrically opposed to the M73 as you can possibly get. But, right, hope you found it interesting and informative. Thank you to the patrons, by the way, to this plug. I could do with some financial support. I'm in Leeds. I don't live anywhere near Leeds. To help me get out here and do these videos. So again, thank you very much. Take care. We'll talk to you on the next one. Alright, so if we compare the 303 with the... This is one of the original 792s, yes?
Yeah, that's the trials one that they sent over.
Okay, so 303 on the right. 792 on the left. In fairness, I'm not seeing too many differences. I mean, the shape of the feet obviously is different. So, if I recall, to shoot out of the canvas belt, you had to withdraw the round from the belt and then slam it forward, yes?
On these, it just goes straight. It just strips it straight forward into the chamber.
Through the canvas?
Yeah, just because it's not the canvas is only attaching the links. It's all.
Oh, okay, but the links itself are metal.
Is in the metal bit, yeah.
Okay. 303, Mark 1,
Yep.
Mark 2,
Mark 3.
Mark 3.
Mark 3/2 or 3/3. These are all different styles of Mark 3.
Okay, and various Mark 3s.
And then here's that return to ground mount that we saw earlier, that I said earlier.
Do you have a couple of tame engineers we could send some details to?
Yeah. Yeah.